call the January 25th, 2022 meeting of the Christiansburg Town Council to order. We're going to observe a minute of silence, and I hope that some of you will keep the family of Roger Howell, who was one of our Public Works employees, 15 years, that passed away last week. I hope you'll keep he and his family in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to ask us to stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think I'm going to ask Councilman Jenkins if he would lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Joe, you're trying to get us through this thing pretty quick, aren't you? Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion that we remove the approved minutes from January 11th outside of the consent agenda.
Okay.
So we can vote. Got a couple of things.
Okay.
A second.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, you got anything?
Yep, I'd like to make a motion that we table consent agenda item C, resolution for adoption of the emergency operations plan. There's some administrative things that Chief Hanks and I want to do to it.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Did we vote on both of those?
I think we need to vote on one first.
Well, that's what I meant.
Let's vote on them separately.
The first one is to table the minutes.
And I
Yes.
second it.
You mean separate the minutes from the consent?
Yeah.
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Showalter.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, that's 6-0. And now I'm separating the minutes from the consent agenda. No,
No, now
table
it's
C. Mr.
C.
Wilson's motion to table C.
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Showalter.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is also 6-0. Under public hearings, we have a fiscal year 21-22 budget amendment number 7. Is there anyone here to address this item? Hearing no one, I will close the public hearings. Under the consent agenda, we have B, the monthly bill list, and a reschedule of a town public hearing for February the 8th, 2022 for a resolution, the disposition of town-owned lot for the intersection of West Street and Johnson Street, tax parcel 497-12, section 3-16A, parcel ID number is 0700451.
I make a motion to approve consent agenda items B and D.
Okay.
Second.
In a motion and a second, any discussions?
Chairman. On the bills, you had a couple questions.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I was thinking about the other minutes.
No worries.
So under is there anything that we can do as far as the $5,400 charge that Norfolk Southern
That's-
charges us for?
Oh, okay, yeah, certainly is.
The no-blow zone or the quiet zone. Is there anything we can do for that?
That is their application fee.
What?
That is their application fee for the quiet zone, and they will not consider the application without it.
So is that application done every year?
No, it's not. It's a one-time fee.
But we just did that years ago, didn't we? They haven't been blowing it for a while.
The Cambria, but this is, the quiet zone on Chrisman Mill.
Okay,
Oh, this is for Christmas meal.
one-time charge.
One time, it's an application fee is what
Okay.
it's called.
Very good.
So with that, is there any other additional charges that they will be, asking the town to pay for?
I don't anticipate any others. To be honest, I didn't really anticipate that kind of application fee for that. But I don't anticipate anything beyond the application itself.
Okay. And then, there was another charge for, there was for the land, under Carter Bank and Trust, there was an interest charge of $8,988. What land are we talking about for one loan of $856,000? Can you tell me?
Balance on a loan of $856,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's our normal interest payment for that loan, it's not a new land purchase.
Is that a quarterly interest payment or annual?
It's semi-annual.
Semi-annual.
Is this for what piece of land?
It's not, it doesn't necessarily mean a piece of land.
If it's a loan, it's probably for the aquatic center. Outstanding loans, that's really, I think, about all we
I
got.
guess my question was because it says land.
It says loan.
It might be titled that, but I don't think
Oh.
it's really for, I don't think it's for land purchase.
It says PD.
On PD and land loan balance,
Land
okay.
loan.
It does say
What
land.
would the PD be, police department, for the improvement we did down there?
I guess it could be, although to be honest, I thought we had paid that off.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for bringing that up. Ms. Henline?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hopkins,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Hi.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
That is 6-0. Mr. Showalter, under the minutes, you had some questions or corrections or statements?
Yeah, I would like to make a correction to, and unfortunately, I don't have a page number here, but it's item 8. It's when we voted on the town council reaffirmation of town attorney engagement policy. The minutes actually reflect that we voted on the hourly rate of the attorney, and we didn't do that. This was, I watched the video as well. It seemed confusing because that's how the conversation started. There was a motion, there was a second, but then it switched during the motion and voting period to just the engagement policy for council and the attorney. So if you go by the minutes, we shouldn't even have our agenda on here tonight for the rate, but we did not vote on that.
You did not know we tabled the rate, because I remember asking for.
Right. But the
Would you
minutes
brought to
reflect that, explain the increases would be for an additional $5 an hour, but it really doesn't go into anything about the true vote, which was the council attorney engagement policy, which we discussed briefly there.
We did discuss that last week.
Yeah, and that's what we voted on, but I think the minutes sort of reflect that, or appear
Very kind of confusing.
as if we voted on the fee increase for the attorneys.
Okay.
And the other item, which I cannot find, but it had to do with the code of ethics, and Ms. Hicks, of course, mentioned some items that she felt sort of ostracized by council. And at the end, of course, I disagreed with it, and I'd like the minutes to reflect that I did disagree with that.
It's under section 7 of the,
Is it one up from that? Yes, it is one up from that. No wonder I missed it.
that's on the reaffirmation of the code of ethics.
Yeah. So I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Do
So
I
you
have-
want to make 2 corrections?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussions?
Would you like to also make a correction as far as like the billing part? I know that you voted under the bills, but there was a charge in there because you work for Virginia Tech and the department you work for, it's, remind me again?
The bursar's office?
Yes, and under the bills, there's a charge in there for Virginia Tech versus office for the payment of those people that were trying to do some stuff for us. I know it's not a big bill, but I think you should have excluded yourself from the bills because
From the last meeting?
from the last meeting, yes.
Well, I can't change my vote on that. I'm just changing the minutes here, so
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make sure I pay a little bit more of attention to that. But most bills that come from Virginia Tech are the athletics. Even if it's through the main part of the university, through the bursar's office, I'm not affiliated with it.
I think that payment to TAC is for interns. Basically.
Pull that mask, Randy, I'm sorry,
I
brother, I
think the
love you.
payment to TAC is for intern program at Virginia Tech is what it's for.
Yeah, but it
I'll
didn't
pay
say
more
that.
attention to it.
All right, very good. Any other comments or questions? Ms. Headline?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hunt,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
That is 6-0, thank you. We have no introductions and presentations tonight. I will open the floor to citizens' comments. If you have, please address to the chair and limit yourself to 3 minutes.
Paul Eichner, 160 Alexa Lane. 2 questions. I heard there was some discussion about a quiet zone and a fee of $5,400. I don't know what that is. I live close to Crispin, I think I heard the Crispin Mill Road. What does that
It's a
mean?
train crossing there,
Okay, I know where that is.
and I think we have had discussion over that for a long time. And apparently, I mean, this is the first I've heard of us having to pay that application, but, you know, Paul, if you don't want us to pay it, we'd be glad to let them blow the whistles.
No, I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, that's
So does that restrict
them from blowing whistles at
blowing
that
the whistles?
crossing.
Okay. Whistles, I don't even hear them anymore
Yeah.
after the first day.
Randy, could you get some information out about that? It's been a while. I remember hearing it years ago. Like, is it annually that we do it, or?
No,
No. You may occasionally have to reaffirm a whistle ban zone, but I don't think there's really a fee or anything like that in regards to that. What we're actually applying for is basically the whistle ban at the Crispin Mill crossing, like is in effect at the Cambria crossing. We had, I guess, slight distance issues there with the type of crossing we had, so we made upgrades to the crossing over the last year. And because of that, we are eligible to apply for the quiet zone, basically what they call it. I was a little surprised by their application fee for Norfolk and Southern. Like I say, I thought it was a little bit steep, but it is, as I understand it, just a one-time application.
But I guess from my understanding, even though it was a weasel thing or whatever, Norfolk Southern can probably impose a whole bunch of other restrictions on us, that we may have to provide metal rails and all kinds of stuff, maybe lights and even of that, you know, is that possible? Because, I mean, you were mentioning a little bit ago that no, but I kind of have to personally disagree with that. Do you think that, I'm gonna ask you again, do you think that there is gonna be additional charges?
I think we probably are at their mercy to some degree in terms of the approval, because it is strictly a Norfolk Southern approval. But as I understand it, the upgrades that we made should be sufficient.
yeah, we made several improvements out at that crossing a couple of 3 or 4 years ago. Several, what was this, a couple $1 million worth? Or?
I don't know if it was 2 million, but it was definitely over $1 million.
To straighten it out and widen it and make it so that, I think one of the problems we had before was that the gates on one side and the other did not cover all the way across both lanes, and we've since remedied that.
That was an issue, and we did have a couple of vehicles struck there.
But I also feel like that there is also a curve that takes place,
And
That-
one of the
that's-
biggest things to you for, even though we apply for this, do you actually think that is even, we have a chance that they may get rid of it?
Well, I certainly think so. I don't think we'd be applying if not.
I'm sorry, I'm taking your time.
I hope you're keeping track of this, Mayor Barber.
You got 12 seconds left, Bob.
Sorry.
Use them wisely.
Like the mayor said, the arms were extended, and I think that was kind of a needed improvement, and the curve was straightened a little bit. I know it's still a little bit of a sharp curve, but that's part of the reason we acquired land, and it's slightly improved.
It's better than it was.
Yes, yes, it
I
is.
use that intersection, that
Yes.
crossing a lot. And finally, Norfolk Southern, it seemed like it took them for an awful long time, but they finally smoothed that over a little bit too, the crossing. The crossing was real rough. Just FYI, I like train whistles. I didn't complain, I won't complain.
There's several people that live right up above that complained
They might.
violently.
Yeah. I have one other question. This is for Ms. Hicks. In the past, I believe you have been strongly opposed to closed meetings. And since you've been on council now for some time, has your opinion of closed meetings changed at all, or how do you feel about closed meetings?
I am glad you're asking questions. I haven't changed my opinion about them. I think there is occasions that you really, really need to have them. And in this instance, like for example, today is a perfect example of that. We're dealing with a case that can actually cost the town millions, or maybe not, you know? And so, do we want to have a lot of this information on the public? Possibly, of not. And so I think there's circumstances that they're definitely necessary. How there is other circumstances that obviously they shouldn't be needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else to address council? I thought I saw you peeking in the door, Chris.
Chris Walls, 1370 Ruby Street. I hadn't actually planned on it, but I heard about the no blow crossing. There's some stuff that I don't think that all of you all understand about it. I don't think Randy understands it, but basically, we're a no blow crossing. Norfolk Southern doesn't approve anything. As a matter of fact, there's not a single Class 1 railroad in the United States of America that thinks it's a good idea to have a no blow crossing. They consider it a safety issue. There have been laws passed that allow them. Cambria is grandfathered in. It would not meet the criteria today had it not been grandfathered to be a no blow crossing. So there have to be improvements made. It's the Federal Railroad Administration who approves no blow crossings. And it is done by, there's a national number. And there's actually an app you have to go to on the FRA's website. You have to put in traffic patterns, traffic crossing, the number of vehicles, all that. And it takes a whole national average and factors in accidents. If you have an accident at a no blow crossing, you can find yourself having a blow crossing right after it. It's all average. It changes every year. And so you may have a no blow crossing this year, and next year the numbers may be above that number instead of below it. Well, they've got a blow crossing. I mean, that's how it works. The railroad doesn't approve it.
Well, why are they billing us?
Huh?
Why is Norfolk Southern billing us if they don't approve it?
That you would have to ask Norfolk Southern. But, I mean, if you look at the Class 1 railroads like UP and them and look up no blow crossings and UP, there's a big thing on there. And every Class 1 railroad is the same thing. It says, we don't believe in them. We believe they're a safety issue, but we realize that the federal government has passed laws that allow them. And, you know, and at least with UP's on theirs, when I read it, it basically says that you're buying a crossing. If the gates malfunction, you're fixing them. If there's something wrong with, you know, something happened, because there's different things that they put at different crossings to be no blow. I mean, they have like little horns that sometimes blow. And basically, you know, you're buying it. If it breaks, you're fixing it. But I mean, I don't know why it could have been for improvements that they did. I mean, I really don't know what why they're billing you.
That's just for the permit to bid a no whistle zone.
But I know that because I've looked at the app, there's an app at the FRA website that you have to go in and you have to plug in numbers, the number of vehicles across that crossing every day, and I think there's stuff about the grade, everything else. And it spits out a number. And that number has to fall below the national number for a no blow crossing, or it's a blow crossing. There's nothing you can do about it. But that's all I had. Thanks,
Chris.
How do the engineers know not to blow?
They're told not to blow. They'll take the whistle boards down. If you look at the railroad tracks, you'll see little boards with a W on it that are spaced a certain distance from the crossing. They take those down and put out a memo that says it's now a no blow crossing. For instance, Abingdon is a no blow crossing from 11 p.m. to 10 or 11 to 6 a.m. That's an option. You know, it's only during the night hours. During the day, they blow them, which I believe doing that lowers that score somewhat, because it's only during the middle of the night, you know, when people are sleeping. 8 o'clock in the morning, you know, most people don't care if they hear a railroad horn. So, I mean, but they put out a memo that says this is
You
now.
pass by Crispin Mill Road every day, or
I've almost hit cars. I've seen a car flip over
I
there.
know, but do you think, you know, you said something about a figure that said because of the grade, do you think that grade that's coming down from Crispin Mill to the stop, would that be a
Christiansburg, right up here at Cambria, is the crest of the hill. So by the time you get down there, you're going down a pretty steep grade. I know that when you're going west on the right-hand side, before you get there, you can't even see the whistle board from the crossing going west, because there's a huge outcropping of rock that provides, when you come around that rock outcropping, it's about, depending on the speed, between 2 and 3 seconds before you're on that crossing. And the speed through there is 30 miles an hour.
But I think my question to you was the grade of Crispin Mill Road, you know.
No, it's the grade of the railroad tracks.
Okay, okay, thank you.
The grade of the tracks.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Because usually going across the railroad tracks, wherever you're crossing, it's level. I mean, fairly level anyway.
Hopefully, okay, thanks.
Randy, when we apply for that application, do we make the application for the 24 hours no blow zone, or like is that only for 12 hours? Or?
I'd have to ask engineering, in all honesty, I don't know that they've submitted the application yet. I think they needed payment before they did consider. I'll check on that and see how the application is submitted.
I was interested to hear what Chris Wolf said about that increases the rates of us not being able to have the no-blow zone if you have less time.
I do know things like grades make a difference. You know, like I say, things like having the arms basically extend the full length is a requirement also. There's kind of a lot of things that go in.
Okay, thank you. Committee reports. Street Committee, Mr. Bishop and Ms. Hockett.
Yes, sir. I have asked Mr. Warren to assist with this one because it has a lot of easements, and I'm afraid I make it, confused, and myself too.
It's not an easement job, is it?
It's not easy. No, it's not.
So the first one is a plat showing right-of-way dedication and public utility easements for Magnolia Point on tax map number 434-A-84 located on Peppers Ferry Road northwest and New Village Drive northwest.
Thank you. Good evening. The first plat that the street committee reviewed this evening was for Magnolia Point. Council members that have been on for a little while may remember there was a rezoning and a conditional use permit for some additional townhomes, but mainly for apartment buildings. Magnolia Point is they're proposing to build an apartment complex on the corner of Peppers Ferry Road and New Village Drive, and the plat before you this evening provides for public utility easements as well as the right-of-way for Bozeman Trail, which is shown here. This is Peppers Ferry Road, This will be the dedication of Bozeman Trail. You may remember there was quite a bit of discussion of, would this be two-way traffic? Would you be able to take left turns from here? This will be right in, right out only, but this would be a new street that would connect up to the existing townhome development. So I'll go to the next plot here. So this is just to the north. So this is a match line sheet 2. So we were just coming from, as you continue up Bozeman Trail, there's existing road here in the townhome development that comes back out to New Village Drive. So what's being proposed today is the dedication of this new road, as well as the public utility easements, and also as part of the site plan process, the developer will be building a right turn here off of New Village Drive in order to allow for cars that are stacking here that may be turning left onto Peppers Ferry Road, which is a pretty common turning pattern. It would allow them to get over into the right-hand lane and to go right if they're going out towards towards the Arsenal or towards Radford.
All right, the street committee did not have any objections to this plot and recommends approval, and that's in form of a motion.
Do I have a second?
I can say.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoppett,
Aye.
Councilman Jennings,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Joseph.
Aye.
Okay, that is 6-0. Plat of subdivision of Campbelltown Green on the Depot Street Northeast and Harless Street Northeast, creating 10 townhome lots and 2 open space lots.
Again, this is really stems from an action that council had taken previously. It was a rezoning from general commercial to R3 multifamily, and the developer is proposing to build 10 townhome lots on the corner of Depot Street and Harless Street. The Rosa Peters Park is right across the street here, with Depot Park a little further to the south, and there would be 7 lots that would front off of Harless Street. There would be 2 entrances into parking areas, and then there would be 3 additional townhomes that would front on Depot Street. And then there would also be 2 open space lots. This would be a stormwater pond down here, open space lot number 1, and those would be owned and maintained by a homeowners association.
Okay.
All right, the street committee makes a recommendation to approve the request. That's a form of a motion.
A second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess the only question is, just as a reminder for me, this was a sidewalk, right?
That's the existing sidewalk, correct? That will be kept,
Existing.
correct.
They are not doing any repairs to it?
It would be, no, I mean, as much as they will be able to keep the existing sidewalk, they would not be required to do any repairs, unless it is damaged by the construction, or where they're putting an entrance in. They would have to line up the new, the entrance, to make sure that,
Very good, so,
yeah, I understand.
all right.
Madam, any further questions? Madam Clerk?
Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hoppett,
Aye.
Councilman Jennings,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
That is 6-0. Thank you. Exhibit from record showing new public utility easements on tax map 406-2-10 on Midway Plaza Drive, Northwest.
And this subdivision plat is actually a property that the council has seen before, as when it was another subdivision, when they had vacated some lot lines about 4 or 5 months ago. And basically, the proposal here is an old standing site plan that was revised this past year for 46 townhomes, and basically there would be 3 entrances from Midway Plaza Drive here, and this is on the corner of Corning Drive in the northern portion of town. And basically, this is one drive area, this is a second, this is a third. They'd be proposing to put townhomes on each side of these drives. And the drives would also be covered by easements, and that's what's before you this evening, is that there would be public utility easements dedicated on top of the parking areas that would allow for the utilities to be built and to get dedicated to the town so that we can maintain them. There's also two smaller utility easements proposed here and here as well, and then one along there.
Andrew, can you remind me where that was located at?
Yes, so it is right across, very near Extreme Springs, near the Corning plant. And so if you were to come out,
I remember.
yeah, so if you were to come out Midway Plaza and come to North Franklin, the Liberty 7-Eleven is probably the best, the best visual marker.
And the rail train for the train was like behind it or on, no, it's actually on.
Yeah,
the third.
right, you can
Yeah,
actually
that's
see it's labeled here. The Norfolk Southern Railway Tunnel is right here.
It's right on
Yeah, so it's underground at that point. Right, yeah.
That's probably,
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
was the last property part of the town under that side, right?
Correct, yeah, I mean, it does become county right after that.
That's the
I mean-
important limit. There's actually a couple of parcels on the west side of the railroad that are in town. It used to be railroad right away that was expanded north and south. But basically putting the annex to the northern limits of the railroad.
Thank you.
Street committee makes a motion to approve the plots.
I'll second.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Crockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
There's 6-0, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Discussion and action by mayor and town council. Town attorney engagement agreement contract. I think we had it in our minutes last meeting. It is explained in your packet. I believe that Sands Anderson is requesting an increase of $5 an hour for their attorneys, their legal assistants, and somebody else.
Law clerk.
Law clerks. So
I would like to make a motion that we approve the town attorney engagement agreement contract for the year 2022-2023.
I think we did the contract itself already, so this was.
Yeah,
just-
so
Yeah,
they
this is just-
updated
this is
the pay.
the pay increase.
Yeah, so the pay increase as is on this contract.
There's a
Agreement.
question. Okay, very good. Do I have a second?
Second.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Randy, so we decided a few years ago for our town attorneys and our auditor that we bid this out every 5 years, correct? So how long has Sands Anderson been with it?
Oh,
2
about
years.
$200,000 worth.
So
No.
we've got another 3 years on that? Okay. First of all, your reputations when you put a bid in for it preceded you as a very good company. You guys weren't the most inexpensive hourly, but your reputation, and you were referred, at least by, we had an attorney here on council as well who thought, and I have no issue with the service that we've been provided. I would like to wait until we see how the budget figures in a few months, but I respect that they want this voted on tonight. I am going to vote no on it, but it has nothing to do with their performance that you've given the town. I would just like to.
This is for the first 6 months of the year, so in the next budget cycle, we'll be probably, most likely looking at another increase. Is that correct?
that was our proposal, was to do $5 January 1, another 5, I guess July 1, with the idea that that would give you all an opportunity to budget for it. We didn't want to spring it on you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are
So
we
we have a
going-
motion, right?
Yep,
Yeah, so
we were in
have
discussion.
a motion for a year. We had a discussion for 6 months. I personally feel like we should just go right ahead and do it for the year, and then I put the motion for the year.
Well, but they haven't given us the dollar figure. They
It
could,
was
it-
$5.
So the
For the first
contract
6
as
months.
it's written says
Yeah.
between now and July.
Yeah. and
so
then
we could come back
$5.
in July again. So until we have that presentation or that request, I don't think
Then
we can approve it ahead
So
of
I
time.
can change my motion to change it for the next 6 months, and
You
then
can just,
we-
you can approve the request presented tonight, which is from now till July 1.
Okay, so I take the other one back.
I didn't understand it here the other way. Okay, so, but,
Because I said, I made a motion to make it for the year,
yeah,
as is stated in there, but if we want to make it for 6 months.
well, that's a contract request. That's a request is for 6 months right now that we have in front of us.
I think you could approve it either way. I think you could approve it for a $5 increase now and a 6-month increase, or $5 increase 6 months from now, or you could essentially approve a $5 increase now.
Well, let's just approve it for the $5 for now, and then, well, I guess we'll put it back in the agenda in another 6
And
months.
if council would rather wait and just deal with the full $10 in July, that's fine with me. It's entirely up to you all what you prefer.
Well, that's gonna save us some money, so.
It's really up to the council. Again, I would rather wait to see how the figures start to look when
Well,
we
she
start
would have to
preparing the
withdraw her
budget.
motion.
Okay, so I will
What?
withdraw my motion,
Withdraw her motion.
of the town attorney engagement agreement contract for us to revisit this in the month of June or July? June, right?
July.
July, okay, July 2020.
I'm sure we'll get that request during the budget cycle, but the new budget starts July 1, so.
So do I have to be specific as far as the date? I just say July.
Just motion, you just withdrawing your motion.
Yes.
Now, is there a motion to deny this action by the town at this point?
I'll make a motion to deny the action by the town at this point.
I'll second.
Okay, very good. Any discussion?
Is there any reason why we just can't table it?
That makes sense to me.
Well, I mean,
Would you-
because, I mean, my issue is, there's no performance issue here.
We're
I
gonna work
think
this
they've
hard over
represented-
$15 an hour, a
I
mile
think
of
they've
life.
represented us very well. It's
Yeah.
just, it's more of a fiscal overall picture for me
Okay.
when we start to look at the budget,
Okay,
for us to make changes now, because I know things are going to be a little bit different
What
this
is
year.
the max amount that we have to put in there as
I
far
would,
as?
I'll withdraw my second,
And I withdraw my motion and make a new motion that we table this.
and I'll second.
thank you. The motion to table this request, that is better than a flat no,
It
isn't it?
is.
Feels better to me.
At least we gave you a definite maybe. Okay, so any comments?
I really like the performance that we have received by St. Anderson.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much, both of you.
You have done, you guys have represented the town very well in a very professional manner, so.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Parker,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Sharpton,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is 6-0, thank you. Resolution to adopt the fiscal year 21-22 budget amendment number 7. It was explained last week. And I think the reason that we're having to make this budget amendment is because it is 1% more than 1% of the budget. And the biggest portion of that is income that we're taking in and adding back to the budget. Is that correct? Nutshell?
Correct. It is making some adjustments for additional revenues that we're projected to receive. We did have a reading of the budget last council meeting too.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the resolution for the adoption of FY 2021-2022 budget amendment number 7.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Showalter.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
This is 6-0. We have a resolution to appropriate the funds approved for 2021-2022 budget amendment 7. And I think there was 48,000 and 7,000 and something, or 9,000, something like that she requested. Is that correct?
That's correct. It should basically align with the budget amendment.
Okay. Yeah, it was discussed last week. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve to appropriate the funds for fiscal year 2021-2022 budget amendment number 7.
I will second that.
Get a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Crockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Showalter.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is 6-0. Staff reports. Town manager?
Got a few things going to pass around. Good. First sheet is titled College Street Stormwater Improvement Alternatives. And the second sheet, or actually the second, there's a couple of attached pages from our College Street drainage supplemental alternative analysis. This is basically a revision to the document that was done this summer.
Just keep sliding them around here. Is that it? Do we have all of the copies out there?
Still right.
This is the first one, then we got a second set coming through. Yeah.
Okay. Basically, I'll just call your attention to the sheet that has College Street Stormwater Improvement Alternatives. This does reference a couple of, I guess, alternative 4A and another alternative 2A. And the reason I'm giving you these sheets, it's got a description of those alternatives. I'm just going to kind of basically run through this. There's a few options. One, obviously, would be a potential to do nothing, which I don't think is really a desirable option. But it would be an option if the town were experienced resistance from property owners in terms of need of easement for property acquisition. I know council said that they didn't really want to have to condemn property to try to help improve people's situations. So, just option A, of course, would be potentially buying 5 properties and demolishing the structures, areas that would be most susceptible to flooding, basically eliminate that hazard to those homes. Could be potentially no other improvements with that. Risk would be that people may not want to relocate. Cost of that is approximately $900,000. Option B would be buy 5 affected homes, demolish the homes, and build a pond in this. That would involve relocating a driveway also for 780 College Street, installing a large 30 and 36 inch pipes upstream, and replacing the 36 inch pipe downstream because it's all pipe replaced. Basically, the approximate cost on that is $3.04 million. Option C would be complete design alternative A, which of course, like I say, you've got the description. This involves building a pond in the upper reach of the basin, installing 24 and 36 inch pipes downstream to reduce that stream. This would essentially offset future downstream improvements. The cost of that is approximately $2.35 million. Option D would be to buy 5 effective homes, demolish structures, complete alternative 2A, and build a pond at the upper reach of the basin. That's kind of, like I say, towards the interstate. We do kind of consider this the Cadillac option, probably the biggest benefit. It's also got the biggest cost, $3.39 million. And extras, and which could be done to help the situation, although we don't feel these have as big immediate impact as the items above. They total approximately $680,000, and that's largely upgrades to the other side of College. Like I say, we don't think that has the same impact. If you wanted to do all the projects together, obviously you're looking at approximately $4 million for the whole enchilada. But like I say, I guess the project range potentially from $900,000 to $3.39 million for what I kind of consider the Cadillac of the College Street, that side of College Street improvements.
Okay.
Randy, which one of these fall within the consultant who came and presented? I think his was a little over, well, his estimate was $2 million. I know it changes.
It has gone up in regards to, I guess, potential property acquisition, things like that. Like I say, actually considering buying some of the affected homes.
Okay.
I guess my biggest thing was, when they came over here, I never heard the word from them that we were gonna, one of the options was to demolish properties.
Or purchase property, right?
What?
The purchase
Purchase it
property,
and then
sorry.
demolish it. We're not just gonna take it.
Well, but still, buying it or whatever that case is. I personally feel like some of these people, not even talking to them today, but the reality is, a lot of these people that came to those town council meetings have lived there for generations after generations, and I think this, I mean, it's like we're pushing to number one, do nothing, and do nothing is not an answer. Now, is option C the one option that doesn't make us get rid of any homes or purchase any homes, because it doesn't seem like it
That's
does?
correct.
Okay, and then is that the option that we were given during that council meeting, that it involved?
That's essentially it, yes.
Okay,
And I'll tell you, I guess, all honesty, I'm probably as guilty as anybody for coming up with the idea of purchasing the homes. I did suggest it as an alternative to the engineering consultants. All honesty, I think just if you look at that basin and long-term, just kind of, and the way it's just kind of naturally designed, that is the low point for a very large drainage basin. And it's the type of thing, even if we did the full enchilada project, I couldn't necessarily guarantee you those homes wouldn't flood if they were to occur, 50-year storm. I think it would be a real possibility.
So option C, it's not a pure cure.
I wouldn't call it a 100% solution.
But it's a lot better than it used to be.
that is kind of the danger of leaving the houses in the locations that are susceptible to flooding. Like I say, it's just kind of the nature of the basin. It is a very large drainage area, and just the way it funnels to it, if you have a very large downpour in a short time, that area is going to get a tremendous amount of water.
I guess my biggest concern too is the fact that we just passed, something came through to us months ago about allowing some more building to be done up the stream. And in reality, that will be the land that we should be acquiring today to make sure that we make this stormwater ponds. There is another piece of land for sale out there off of, that would be Main Street,
Yes.
that came out for sale. Will that be something, and it's very inexpensive.
we've-
I mean, we're not talking about millions of dollars.
We've spoken to that property owner, and he is agreeable to sell, and that property would be used under the option C.
Okay,
So these are options
Any
that you're paying cost.
any of the upstream basins options would involve that property, most likely.
And Randy, how many property owners, at least have agreed, not officially or not in writing or legally, to give us easements out there if we did do option C?
Verbally, I think everyone in the channelway and upstream in the pond area, with the exception of one property owner in the channelway.
Which ends the whole project.
Well, does council want to condemn a property for this project?
what's required of us as far as like going into the property? Because I think a lot of the times people are skeptical on saying yes when they don't have the facts. And I think just looking at this and not being a homeowner on that location scares me. This was the first time I've seen these options, and to me, this is unacceptable. Everything except letter option C, which I can tell you, those people are asking us for help, not asking us to come and buy their homes out for whatever the amount and kick them out of their homes.
We're not gonna make any decisions tonight. I assume we're still a year away at least from any type of,
Well, I'd recommend, I guess, that you send it to Water and Waste Committee and have discussions at that level.
okay?
Yeah, well, I recommend that.
Okay, well, that's Ms. Hicks and Mr. Wilson.
I would really like that, and I also like to see if we can make a meeting with the homeowners and have maybe a round table meeting with them, maybe not even just one time, but several times, to discuss options, and obviously give them a copy of this and say, hey, here is what we got, you gotta work with us, or we got nothing. Because this should be a collaboration of everybody.
And I think anytime that you get into, and I've heard of situations like this before, if you're going to buy 5 pieces of property, I mean, it has to be all or none. So you can't get 4 to say, yeah, I'll do it, and 1 say no, then we don't buy. Because then you'll get into paying about 5 times more than the property's worth than the other people are getting. So this is something we will pass on to Water and Waste to study over the next, I'd say probably going to take well, we don't have final recommendations from anybody, do we?
No, we don't.
These are just options that we can pursue,
These are options, alternatives.
just alternatives.
For discussion.
Has this presented to the homeowners?
No, this is the first time it's been presented publicly.
I appreciate that, you bringing it to us.
Yeah. And I'm sure our engineering people have looked into it,
Yes, certainly.
so they're involved along
Oh,
with
yes,
consultants and everyone.
they're certainly involved.
Very good. Anything else?
I guess when is the meeting for the stormwater and the water?
I'll get with you and Mr. Wilson to try to set that, but
Randy?
hopefully next week.
Yeah.
Randy, going through the committee, which then has to make a referral to council, which I'm sure it'll be weighed in public hearings through there for council to make a decision. How long would something like this take? Because I know we were pushing for a 2-year, at least a 2-year window to where we start this project.
We would like to obviously seek grants for these. There's resiliency grants that are out there potentially for purchase of homes is one possibility. Revenue sharing from VDOT, which is a 50-50 grant for stormwater projects, is certainly another possibility. And if you can get 50-50 money, or I think that resiliency money is even probably a higher percentage than that, I think we should look at it. I would think that application process would take basically a year with formal design also. I would think you could potentially start a project the year after that.
Okay, all right, so, but you need a decision from council before you
Yes,
start.
yes, we would, and direction, obviously, what direction are we gonna
It's a lot of
go
different
as far as
directions.
projects, yes.
Randy, a question for you. We wanted to put ARPA funds towards this project, right? How much
Correct.
was that total that we were looking at putting towards the
Total
project?
was 3.15 million. We've spent just a very small amount of that. We definitely have over 3 million. We do have 2-year window to spend that.
Okay,
So
thank you. That was my
basically,
next question.
this fiscal year and next fiscal year.
So our decision, we have to decide what we're going to do satisfactory to as many people as it can be satisfactory to, and then pursue the grant money.
Well, the ARPA money is really at council's discretion as to
Yeah, but
how
you
you.
mentioned some grant money that we've been very successful in
Yes,
getting in the
we have
past.
been very successful at getting revenue sharing grant money from VDOT. Problem with the VDOT application process is that you apply one money cycle, you might not be funded for several years potentially, just because the way their funding works.
Okay.
So, but that's something at least you would know basically at the end of the funding cycle.
Okay.
When you get the approval, they tell you generally when you're gonna be scheduled.
Okay,
And with the HARPA money, what's their criteria for that?
It is eligible to use it for infrastructure projects such as water, sewer, and stormwater. They're all eligible. Other eligibility would include revenue loss from COVID would be a possibility. So you could simply kind of claim the money you did, like you did with CARES Act, I believe is a possibility. You can use it to pay emergency responders.
Right, but for this project, would we have to have it under contract, bid out, engineered, ready to go, for us to be able to use that money? Or can we just say, hey, this is what we want to use it for, and the federal government won't pull it back?
I think you would have to have it expended within a 2-year period.
Means spent,
I think so.
paid to the contractor.
I believe so.
Right, all right.
okay.
Which this project, let's say, council decided on one of these today. What's the shortest one? A year-long project?
Let's say you were to decide on this project and forego a grant, which I don't think you do, but if you were to do that, you know, you might be starting construction next fiscal year potentially.
So there's a risk that if we start it too late, it goes too long, that we may not be able to use HARPA money at all for it.
It's correct, yes. That is a possibility.
Okay.
Like I say, you've got to use it within that two-year window.
Right, but you just can't say this is what we're gonna do with it, and they just, okay, you just keep that as long as you want, because you said you're gonna use this for this.
Unless there's some type of extension or something like that, like there was with the CARES Act money.
Mhm.
I think we're definitely farther down the road than we were 6 months ago. I mean, 6 months ago, we were just talking about, you know, even a year ago, we were dealing with the flooding issue. And then obviously, fix a problem, there's not a fix unless we spend money. And I think it's our responsibility as a town to take care of this problem. Because we shouldn't be waiting for another storm to happen to tell these homeowners, well, we are waiting for money from VITA. So if there was an incident today, I want to make sure that they are taken care of at least the best that we can.
I think we've got, until you have it contracted out and they start churning dirt, I don't count on anything. And that's what, and me as a resident, if this project was in my neighborhood, we can do all the talking we want. This thing could be still 2, 3, 4 years out, and we could still, a new council could be under the decision-making if we don't get the certain grants or have the certain funds we want for it.
I'll point out, we did use a 30% contingency in these estimates, which is definitely a little bit high. That's a little higher than we typically use.
She gave us about a 2-year window on it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, sir.
Just point out, I think Andrew passed out the updated boards and commissions list for you. That is basically to replace the handout from last council meeting. One thing I'll point out, like I say, we did update it for some of the appointments from the last committee, and there are a few corrections to that sheet. So if you could just toss that one, and the updated sheet should be correct.
And I appreciate you doing that.
Sure.
Or
It's nice to have, and it'll be nice to have going forward. So. And I'll just bring up park naming. It's something that council needs to consider how you would want to handle it. You know, you could come up with a park name potentially yourselves, and obviously there's potential for sponsor name with it. You know, we've sort of been using Christiansburg Signature Park, but what you really want to call it is up to town council, or if you would want to form a committee for that consideration, you could. If you would want to refer to Parks and Rec Commission, you could. If you want it to be a council decision, that's fine. But just, if you could, maybe give us some direction of how you'd want to handle that.
I thought we were waiting on the sponsors, and hopefully somebody will pay some money to have their name on it or something.
As far as a title sponsor, a corporate sponsor, yes, but do you want a name with it like Christiansburg Signature Park? You know, I guess, just to give you an example, ABC Corporation, Christiansburg Signature Park.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm more concerned about the money now than actually putting a name tag on it. That's my personal opinion.
Well, I think when we enter into the discussion about, when we get to the point of naming a park, I think I would suggest we turn it over to the Recreation Committee to come forward with suggested names, and that, of course, the final naming will be council's vote.
I think a sponsor better month.
But we can still have a sponsor out there.
Good.
Do we have anything out there requesting sponsorships for that,
No.
anything regarding the park already?
Not distributed, no. Just the materials we showed you a couple council meetings
I
ago.
personally feel like we have been asking for this for a while, and
Well, I think a lot of people that are gonna consider into it or wanna see closer to, I'm not gonna say a finished open product, but they wanna see the progress and make sure they're contributing not to a pig in the poke, but they're actually gonna, if they wanna buy a lighted field or whatever, they wanna see pretty close to where it's gonna be.
I think right now, the way it's looking pretty well, as far as, and we have all the drawings, and we have all kinds of stuff about the park online and everywhere. We had a really nice video that was made, so I personally feel that it's better to start right now, trying to get the sponsors, to see if we get a bite, you know? Let's just say we get $2 million or $5 million.
Can we get an update from Brad? Because he's the one who's taking this project under his wing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
My, if you just want a park name, when's the deadline for, that we should have one?
I guess that's really up to council because, you know, obviously things like signage would depend on that though. So you might not have a sign with a, you know, whatever name is chosen if you're looking at opening date. But if you're comfortable with that, that's okay. It's, like I say, really at council's discretion.
Oh, you can turn it over to the rec commission to present several names, but I would like this to be a community involvement where they vote on that, but that's just my
And
personal
they have that
opinion.
document out there that, with the rec commission, that they can solicit input, public input. Okay. What else you got?
That's all I've got.
Reed? Mr. Attorney? Yeah.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any other staff? Council reports, Mr. Showalter,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Bishop,
I don't have anything.
Ms. Hicks.
Yes, just a reminder to everyone, tomorrow is Central Business District meeting at 12 o'clock from 12 to 1 here at the Town Hall. The public should be, welcome to come, and public comments are always welcome. Also, I guess you guys got the email, and Brandy replied saying for the Agency of Aging, we're gonna have, they're gonna have nice PowerPoint and stuff like that, telling us a little bit about the organization and everything for February the 22nd Town Council.
That is a 10-minute limit, is that correct?
Yeah, they
They know
have it
that.
under 10 minutes.
Okay, very good.
Joanna, is this gonna be online, video or anything? This
The
meeting?
person is gonna be coming over here.
Your Central
No, it's
Business.
gonna be in person, Town Hall.
Very good. Ms. Hockett,
Nothing to report.
Mr. Jenkins,
Nothing.
Mr. Wilson.
I have nothing.
Well, I am pleased to announce that the Virginia Board of Elections complaint that was filed on me by Mrs. Hicks was dismissed because I had proven that I had done everything that I was supposed to do. And I have a letter from the newspaper that said, yeah, they screwed it up, not me. So it was dismissed this past week. Other business?
Oh.
We have none,
No other
then
business.
there you go.
I move that the town council enter into closed meeting as stipulated in agenda. Read the agenda. Request for a closed meeting under Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A7. Consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual probable litigation, or such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. For the purposes of this subdivision, probable litigation means litigation that has been specifically threatened or on which the public body or its legal counsel has a reasonable basis to believe will be commenced by or against a known party. The closed meeting is being held for discussion of pending litigation filed by Allegheny Construction Company, Inc. Against the town, and by the town against McCormick Taylor Incorporated.
That's a motion.
That is a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Crockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is 6 ayes. We'll take a brief recess until we can get council chambers clear.